Welcome back, everyone. This is Gina Joyce
And Laura Moose
with She Does the Podcast, and we are here today with the wonderful Shele Toftey from Dockside Market. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have so many awesome stories from so many women, and Shele's is really unique. You kind of have this whole spectrum of Alaska, Minnesota, fishing, dockside, back to fishing. Can you kind of share kind of your origin story, your background?
Sure. Yeah. Well, how far back you want to go?
Maybe to the fishing in Alaska, right?
Okay. Well, yeah. I grew up in Oregon, actually, and on the coast, and I ended up just being very outdoors, family oriented. My dad was an avid sports fisherman, and so every weekend we were always gone somewhere, camping, fishing, doing stuff. So for me to be outdoors was very normal, and then as I got into high school, I had a boyfriend for 6 years, high school and out, and he was a commercial fisherman on the Columbia River in Oregon.
Oh, so I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so that's where I kind of started in a sense. I would fish with him, and his dad fished too, and then my dad kind of got into fishing too, because a lot of those families from Oregon also ended up going to Alaska in the summer in Bristol Bay fishing.
Oh.
So, it's kind of like Minnesota and Bristol Bay. It's the same idea. But,
sure.
But, so, if they weren't fishing on the Columbia River or out in the ocean, longlining and dragging, that type of stuff, then they were up in Alaska, summer fishing in Bristol Bay. And so, I kind of started that way. And then I ended up going to Alaska one year to visit my boyfriend up there, and I kind of knew in my heart someday I wanted to be back there. Yeah. And that was in Cook Inlet up in Alaska. And then in a few years later, my brother decided he wanted to go to Alaska, and so my dad and my brother and we drove up together, and I just drove up not knowing that I was going to be spending the rest of my life up there, just going along for the ride.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but and it was wonderful. He was going. My brother was going to go stay. That was his holiday. He was moving up there, and we ended up in Homer, Alaska. And once we got up there and kind of got him settled, and he was into construction working and all that, and then I flew home, and my dad stayed. He drove home later, but. Then 3 weeks later, my girlfriend that I was working with, her and I got in the car and we moved to Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so
she's
cool.
Actually still up there now.
Wow.
So, yeah. And
meant to be.
Yeah.
It's meant to be.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did
I was, 18 when I got out of high school, and then moved up in, we moved up there in 82. So I guess I was like 22, 21, 22, right in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then, so it was just exciting.
Yeah.
And just because being in an adventurous family already, it was really exciting. My mother had, when I was a senior in high school at 18 years old, my mother became ill with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And so I just moved out of the house, you get 18 and out of school.
Yeah.
But then my sister and I and my brother, we ended up moving back in to help take care of her. And then she passed in 2 years later. So in 2020, so was that right? No, sorry, 1977. I forgot how old I am. But anyways, and so then at that point, I think that changed my lifestyle. So my direction was kind of way more open. I always wondered, if she would have been alive, if I would have done something different,
Sure.
But, and that was fine. But anyways, moved up to Alaska, and then I just kind of started working in restaurants and fishing. And the girlfriend that moved up there with me, her dad was kind of a fisherman too. And he ended up running a boat out of Kodiak. So I got on board that boat, and we were long lining for halibut and black cod. And then it just kind of evolved. That's just kind of what I did. I got on a few different boats, doing different fisheries in the falls, and those are mostly fall and yeah, I don't know, late winter, early spring fisheries.
sure.
And then a lot of those boats, those bigger boats that I fished on, became tenders in the summer. Then they would go tender salmon in Bristol Bay.
Oh.
So then I'd end up going on. I went on an all-women's boat in Bristol Bay.
Cool.
And yeah, and a couple of those ladies were out of Homer, and then the one lady that ran the boat. This is how I got to be in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But anyways, she was in Minnesota, and she was in the Minnesota, I guess you call it like a radio group.
Okay.
So you have, Joe and Joy Carlson from here. You have other, different boats and that go up there in the summertime to fish, and that's where I met my husband Harley. He was one of the Minnesota fishermen. So that's how I met him.
Also meant to be.
Yeah. So that was in 1990, and then in 91 I ended up moving here from Oregon, and so then it was back and forth to Alaska. I was still doing my long lining, so I stayed up there when I met Harley, and did my fishery because I had a home and everything up there. And,
Sure.
And yeah.
And
so
would you go back and forth? I don't know as much
Yeah.
about fishery, but back and forth based on the season and what fish you were.
Right.
looking
Well,
for?
yeah, and because I based myself out of Homer, even though I fished a lot out of Kodiak and a lot out of Dutch Harbor, and I did one king crab season, and
wow.
and then I got to the point that I still had a house in Oregon, so then if I had time, I'd come back. I was
Sure.
an Alaska resident, but I would come back and
Back
have
and
my
forth to
house.
Oregon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and see family and and friends and stuff. But so then eventually in '91 I moved here.
Yeah.
Harley came to Oregon, unpacked or helped me load up everything I had there, and then I didn't have a lot of per se furniture or anything like that in Alaska. Stuff you could
Sure.
leave there, but
Yeah.
my girlfriend was there. She took care of everything. I wasn't worried.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I moved out here in '91, and then we just kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
We
Fish here
started
in
fishing
Alaska?
here, yeah,
Or-
and herring, and of course, what I knew of herring back then was saltwater herring, which is a bait fish. We used it for halibut, bait fish, and whatever. And Harley's like, "No, we fish herring in Lake Superior," and I'm like, "Really?" It doesn't taste very good. Oh, it's so good, So I had to be convinced.
A new perspective, yeah.
But yeah, so then once I realized that there is a freshwater herring and that is
Yeah.
totally edible,
Different.
Yeah, different. And then so we came here and we'd fished out on Lake Superior, and I swear it took me 2 weeks on that boat. And one day I bent over and I was washing my face with the water, and I looked at him and my eyes got big, and he goes, "What's wrong?" I go, "Oh my gosh, this is fresh water."
It's not
I
salty.
spent my whole life on the ocean, so all I could taste was salt water. And
Yeah.
it was like, and the Lake Superior is so big. It looks like
You forget.
when you're out there. You don't even think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that you look back on. It was pretty funny. Oh yeah, my gosh, I can drink this. Oh,
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah.
So I have, before we go
Yeah.
to the next part of your evolution, I have so many questions. 2 questions in particular. One, you mentioned you were on an all women's boat. Was that rare to have women in
yes,
fisheries?
especially back then.
Yeah. Is it still?
No, not so much anymore.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, and then plus just a woman being on a long line commercial boat or even king crabbing was very, very rare back then.
Yeah.
But it also I had connections. It wasn't so rare to be on a salmon boat in Bristol Bay because a lot of those boats are family oriented,
Sure.
especially if you're the native fisherman and that type of stuff. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so I had some connections, and so I was able to get on some boats.
So you didn't have to fight your way on.
Well, no, but I didn't always get paid as much as the guys did.
Well, that's still a problem.
But that's all right.
How do we fix
It's
that?
all about experience and whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, and nowadays, like I say, there's a lot of women in all the fisheries.
Yeah, that's
and you can
wonderful.
even see that on TV.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah.
I love learning more about it.
Yeah.
It's an industry I didn't know. I come from an ag background, but I was never exposed to that much of the fishery side of things. So
Right,
it's really
right.
interesting.
Yeah. So,
And so when you would go out, was it every day?
well,
Or is it like, how does that kind of work?
up in Alaska or here?
Well, both. I guess there's, I assume there's
Yeah.
differences.
Well, Alaska, depending on the fishery, they had certain openers. Like back in those days, they had 48-hour halibut openers. You could go out in 48 hours, catch as much halibut as you could.
Oh, wow.
And there were certain quotas to be caught, so they had to kind of
Sure.
say, okay, 24-hour opener or 48-hour opener, and what section you wanted to fish. Black cod, you had more of a quota just to go catch your quota, so you could do that. Like you could fish for 2 weeks as long as you had your holding tanks with water or whatever before you had to go to the cannery and deliver fish. And then of course salmon is the same thing. They give you openers to go fish,
Okay.
and then you might get 3 or 4 days, you might get 24 hours. You just never know.
Yeah.
Because the DNR, Fish and Game, whatever, they're kind of in control of all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it the same here?
Here,
Or different?
they give you quotas
Okay.
per fisherman, and I believe there's only 14 fishermen permits on the North Shore. I believe it's probably changed. Things have changed since back when we did that. But yeah, and then each fisherman, the longer you've been here, the higher quota you get for the herring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you have to apply for trout tags. They only give you so many tags per month for trout. So, and then there's lots of book work. You have to do daily book work,
Sure.
keep track of everything, and turn that in. So,
Yeah.
and samples. You have to take heads, gut samples, freeze them,
Sure.
pick up at the end of each month here.
Yeah.
So they're right on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's good. That's all good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole different side of like the regulatory oversight
Right.
than
right.
some of the other
Yeah. Yep.
meats
Well,
or
they keep it
produce.
in control. So
Yeah.
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 But yeah,
Super
and
interesting.
here for Harley and I, once you have nets out in the water, you pretty much have to pick them every single day.
Wow.
And unless there's a storm, but then
Sure.
if it lays down in the afternoon, you're out in the afternoon. But you pretty much pick every single day, and it doesn't take that long to do it as
Sure.
long as you don't have a lot of fish. But
And you're still doing this today.
well, I don't go out on the lake anymore.
Okay.
But I do work in the basement of Dockside. We had the Smith brothers. Tyler started working for us when he was 14 years old, and we ended up giving him the boat when we got out of the fishery, per se, and permits and stuff. And so now I work for the boys. They used to work for us. It's
Yeah.
so funny. But yeah, I still call them boys, but they're men.
Right.
But yeah, so I work for them in the basement, and we fillet they bring the fish in, and then from there I've got the orders all set up, ready
Sure.
to go. We fillet the fish, I get packaged up, I go deliver.
Yeah.
So
So I'm curious, how does that evolution, like how does that feel now kind of being on the opposite? It's almost come full circle, right?
right.
Like-
Oh yeah. Well, I think
Have you learned things from that? Have you changed perspective? Have you kind of looked back and said like, oh, I would have done that different, or I'm glad I'm on this side of it now? How does
Well,
that feel?
I think, as we were going along and with Dockside and all that, it flowed. And plus, and the kids, everything happened kind of at once. We opened Dockside the same year I was pregnant with the girls. But then we would close in October and not open until April again for the winter months. So that worked out good
Yeah.
timing for the girls to be born at Christmas, right around Christmas there. But it's just, I think it's hard to say because I think your mindset is kind of the same
Yeah.
after so many years. The hardest thing for me was stepping away and then slowing down. And I'm still moving and doing stuff. That's why I like to work for the boys down there. But
Yeah.
then you just realize, okay, time goes by. You're definitely older.
Sure.
You got to start thinking of other things and other directions, and and start making life a little simpler, and focus more maybe, on your kids or on certain events or things like that. I felt like I gave up a few things when we were doing Dockside, and especially being open from basically April through New Year's Eve is what it finally came down to. We had 3 months off there. But, I felt like I couldn't leave there. And, I worked 7 days a week. And I also we had a cold storage in Duluth where we had frozen fish brought in because we smoked all of our own fish. And so we'd need somebody to run to Duluth, and it's like, oh, hallelujah, I'm going to have a day off. But I'm still working,
Right.
going to Duluth
Change
to
of
get the
scenery.
fish, but at least I could stop and get some groceries or something
Right.
and come back. But I literally never had a day off where I stayed home and did nothing. And that's hard to imagine. And then when I had my hip broken and stuff, I was in the hospital and had surgery, came home. I was there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Monday, I came home, and I didn't even go home. I came with my walker, walked right into the gym, and watched the girls play volleyball. And then I was back to work the next
On the
day
go.
because I could drive. But
Yeah.
I didn't stay there for full day. I was there for 6 hours or whatever. But I think because I don't want to say a control freak, but I felt like I had to do everything myself, or make sure that everything got done a certain way. And then I look back. That's the one thing I kind of regret. I look back and I think I should have tried to designate more. And I just, at the time, I'm just going. I'm not thinking even about that.
Yeah.
And but it would have made things a little simpler if I would have done that.
Yeah.
You know.
I think a lot of us struggle with that.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I feel like all of us are feeling
Yeah.
the same way. Like we feel like we have to wear different hats,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the day, it's like, you can also leave this for later, like
Right,
prioritize family time, or like
Yeah.
the self-care time
Yeah.
and stuff. So that was gonna be my next question, is if you could give an advice to those women who are running businesses or who are about to start a business, or the moms that are doing it like Jean and I. What would be your advice for us now that you've been doing this for so long? I mean, you're
Right,
not a
yeah.
business owner anymore, right? But,
Right.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
if there was something that you would like us to learn from you, what would
Yeah.
that be?
I just think kind of what I just said. Take a step back and just say, okay, do I have to do this, or can I have somebody help me do this, or can I give control to somebody to do this? Just to take even one step, and that would just free up so much.
Yeah.
I think mentally too, mental time, and just
The mental task list.
Yeah, exactly. Because and then I always say, step back and take a deep breath. And it's easy to say that, but to really take time to do it.
Yeah.
And I will say, my sister, she still lives in Oregon, and her family, and we're very close because her parents are passed and everything. But when her daughter got married in August of 2007, and of course, I should have been there, and I couldn't go. I just couldn't. The girls were 9. The store was just cranking. It was so busy, and that's where that designating somebody where you would felt comfortable
So you
with
could have gone. Yeah.
that, then maybe I could have even gone for 3 days or something, But I
Right.
just, and I feel, to this day, I still feel guilty.
Oh.
I know.
That's hard.
And my sister, when she finally came out and visited me at one point during the middle of summer, and she says, well, I can understand why you weren't here, but you can say that, but
Yeah.
you still feel it.
Yeah.
I still do to this day, so I always,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Sorry.
just got to take a little time to yourself and designate, I think.
I think that's
is,
great advice.
Yeah.
And so I want to clarify too, for our listeners who maybe don't know what Dockside was. It's currently known as the Fisherman's Daughter.
Yes.
And so you started it originally as Dockside in what year?
1990. 98. We started Dockside. We had been fishing out of there and down below for
Even
many
longer.
years before that, because
Right.
we did the roe fishery and all that down there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and Dick Eckel and Barb Eckel, we were kind of partners with that property to start with.
Okay.
So yeah, but then we opened Dockside in this spring of '98, and it was just the small building. It was
Okay.
10 feet across, I think, by 33 feet long.
Was there seating still, or no?
No.
Just kinda
It was
grab and go.
It was just the grab and go with
Yep.
smoked fish, a little bit of fresh fish. And then we had a freezer case with some frozen stuff. But there was just an outhouse down by the old fish house, and then there was a trap door that went down into the basement section, and that you had to climb down. But I mean, things had changed, But that's what that little building was.
trap door anymore, I don't think.
No. And so then that was in 98, and then like 4 years later, we ended up adding on to Dockside the whole seating section, staircase going down, and the basement. And the basement kind of was, the main focus was to make a place where we could process the herring roe, and so that was became the row house, we called it, the basement. And then upstairs that's when we introduced the fish and chips and the little bit of deli stuff, but mostly smoked fish and chips back then. Yeah.
And it's still there today. It's wonderful.
It's still there. So,
And so how long did you operate before, because I know it was sold before the current owners, Katie and Parker, but
we
how
had
long
it for
did you have?
20 years.
20 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, the girls graduated in 2017, and that was our last full year of owning it. And then I stayed on for a few months after the transition.
Yeah.
But so we just figured 20 years was a good number.
That's amazing.
For
Congrats.
the fish market, not, many more years for fishing and all that.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah, so.
And so to think of how amazing it is that you went out and caught the fish, you brought it to that building to process, and then you served it and sold it upstairs.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's still that same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as fresh as it gets.
Right.
And
Oh,
local. I mean, it's
absolutely.
amazing. And then it
Yes.
goes to some of our grocery stores,
Yes,
right?
it
and
does. Yep.
some of our other restaurants in town.
Goes to the, yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
amazing.
And then we used to process the herring roe, and all that ended up going overseas because,
Oh, sure.
yeah. And that was through Solar Fisheries, a different company but, that was a whole huge experience back then, too.
Yeah.
Just something else to do.
Yeah.
Something else to add to the list.
Right? Why not?
But
That's wonderful. Yeah. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's such a unique
yeah.
and, I don't know, aspirational way of getting food.
Yeah.
The more we can do that, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and it still happens. Like, say, Tyler and those boys fish.
Yeah.
And they'll be starting up here in April, probably the end of the month.
Sure.
It's a little bit more ice this year, so to get in and out of the harbors and where they fish out of in Hovland. But
Yeah.
it'll be happening.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll be down there delivering fish, flying fish.
I can't wait. Love it. I think Dockside is such a staple of Grand Marais, and I am so glad that the owners have kept their legacy.
Yeah.
And the very how do I say this, unique, how you have done things. We always look forward. I think that sometimes generations don't do well with change.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I remember when you sold to the owners
The
before.
The previous,
Yeah. So I was struggling a little bit, even though I haven't grown up here.
Yeah.
And I have not gotten used to everything. The little changes that people were making, I was like, get me my fries back.
Yeah, we did have good fries.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, I'm so glad at times I would see you there too, making sure that things were going smooth.
Yeah.
That you were teaching them, things.
Right.
And it's wonderful that in some way you can still be there.
Right.
Yeah, you're still involved, and it's got to be fun to see Katie and Parker and what they've done with it. They've done a wonderful job.
Yeah, I'm so happy that they have that now. Because it is, to me, it's more like the old Dockside, and they've introduced a lot more deli stuff, sandwiches, salads, different things like that.
They have some additions, but
Yes,
they haven't
yeah.
changed fully what
Right,
you use.
right.
Some of the
to offer.
tradition,
So
yeah.
that is
Yeah.
wonderful. I think it's a really good way to introduce different things,
Yeah.
but not change.
Yeah, I think they still use the same breading recipe that we used, and a few
that's
other things.
awesome.
I had the smoked salmon spread and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it's nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have it.
Yes.
And we're lucky to have you
You guys
here.
are making me sad now.
No, it's
kidding.
we're glad that it's
Yeah.
all still here and
Thank
that
you.
you're still a part of it.
Yeah. I like having something to do. No.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, the next question I think I would like to ask you is if there were 3 fun facts about you that you could share with people, what would they be?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, maybe things nobody knows.
Yeah.
Or some that they do.
I mean, we didn't know that you were from Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
before I didn't know that you had been in Alaska and that, you know, your husband was from Minnesota. Like that's a
Yeah.
fun fact. But outside of that, what would it be?
Like a quirky hobby, or do you play an instrument, or is there something unique that
I
you
don't
like?
have time. No.
Fair.
No.
I don't have time.
There is one thing that I thought of the other day because after I had read that, one quick thing is, this is so embarrassing. I actually have an old bathrobe. That was my mother's.
Yeah.
It's a piece of it in my night dresser drawer, and I used to pull it up because it's soft, and I used to just
Yeah.
feel it like
Yeah.
this. And I opened the drawer up, and I went, "Oh my gosh, I still have that." And Harley's like, "You still have that?" You know, so we laugh
Aw,
about it. But that's
yeah.
kind of to me, that's kind of a fun fact.
Yeah.
that,
It's
know,
a-
but I don't.
it's a
know.
piece of home, yeah.
Yeah,
Comforting,
exactly. But,
yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't.
Certain genre of music you like, or do you like horror movies, or like
Oh gosh, you guys.
You have twins, I guess. That's
yeah,
fun.
that's
Yeah,
yeah.
that
You
is-
had a
oh,
business. How do you do
Well, I'll
that?
tell you what. Okay, here's a fun fact. I said you brought up the twins. So, as me being a tomboy my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, because my dad, my brother, and I rode dirt bikes, and then my dad and brother raced professionally,
Oh, wow.
motocross, and of course I was right there, right next to him all the time. But
Awesome.
I was a tomboy, and growing up, and I, told everybody I met, and my sister, everybody says, I'm going to have 3 boys and a girl, because I just knew I was going to have a boy. Absolutely knew I was going to have a boy. And so when Harley and I went and had the
Ultrasound.
ultrasound, and she called us back, and I was upstairs at the fish market, and Harley was down in the fish house, and we both happened to pick the phone up at the same time. And she goes, I hear you want to know what you're going to have. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm really excited. And she goes, okay, well, you're going to have 2 girls. And I,
Surprise.
Did you know you were expecting twins at that
oh,
point?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But we just didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
And I'm like, excuse me? And she goes, oh, yeah, 2 girls. I said, well, are you really sure?
You want to double check?
Because I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I think she thought I was nuts because I kept questioning her. I go, you sure? You sure I don't have, and she was laughing finally. And I said, okay, thank you, hang it up. And then I was so upset, I started crying.
Aw.
And then I ran down to the fish house, not realizing Harley was on the other end of the phone. And I said, I'm so sorry, we're not having a boy. It was, but that's, and that was fine. And, but it's just one of those fun things. I mean, I guess it'd be fun that you just never forget.
Yeah.
And of course, when the girls were, once you realize, okay, you're fine. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be
Yeah.
whatever, that's fine. And so anyways.
I think it works out. You get what you're meant to have.
I agree.
Whether you expected it or not. And then
Yes.
you realize, oh, this was meant to be.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
learned so much from it.
Oh,
And
me
from
too.
them.
Me
And, yeah.
too. Absolutely. And I also will say that, people say, "Oh, how'd you deal with twins?" I have a hard time with just one.
Yes.
And the one thing about the twins is that as they get a little bit older, they entertain themselves.
True.
I mean, I actually could stand there and cook dinner and watch them entertain themselves without me having to be, right there doing that, or
Right.
Harley doing that, or whatever. But it was great because they always had somebody to play with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll never forget that.
Funny.
I was kind of the same. Like
Yeah.
I was never a girly girl, and I thought for sure I would have a boy, and then finding out it was a girl, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, meant to
Right.
be. Well, and now I'm like, I can't imagine not having a girl.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I would like to have had more children, but, I was older when I had the girls. I was just shy of 42.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, but, and that was fine. It was all timing. It all worked out, we stayed upstairs at Dockside. We made a little apartment up there in
Yeah.
the summertime. That worked good, so we wouldn't have to travel back and forth. And
Really
just-
smart
yeah.
planning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually started, us and Dr. Stover and Delphs and Julie Roddick, we actually started the Cooperation Station daycare.
Really?
Yeah.
That is another
That's a fun fact. I did
is
not
it?
know
Is
that.
that fun? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, fun to locals.
Yeah, we did. We started it because we were all had kids at the exact same time, and right,
Yeah.
give or take a year, and there was just not any daycare, so we got that going, and
That's awesome.
And
Yeah, Cooperation Station is a local daycare
yeah,
with a really unique model.
Right, right.
Like kind of all the parents chip in to help run it. And
yeah, and
Yeah.
and back then it wasn't in that location; it was in a different location on the backside of the courthouse. I forget what that street is, but from there, then it moved into the other location, and that's when we actually got it going. The cooperate, So
Yeah.
it was great. Yeah, it was so nice to have something so close and
Yeah.
handy, and then the people that everybody that. Well, it ended up working there and being there. We're there for a long time.
Sure.
So it was a great place. I'm glad to see it's going again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So I have a question for you. I think we all have this going on, now that we have businesses too. How does your inner critic sound like, and how do you quiet it?
oh, good question. I feel like the quiet part is just kind of you're always thinking here. You're thinking and. I mean, I'm not a very outspoken person, so to me, that's the quieter inner part of me, my inner critic. And then, of course, thinking it's never enough. And that's where I go back to the same thing what I had just said about step back, take a breath, delegate, that type of thing. But, I just... And that would be very important. Like, say, if I was to move on in the future, if I was to do another business or whatever, or tell someone, that would be the thing I would say. It's just, don't feel like you have to do it all yourself.
Especially when you're doing so much to begin with. Yeah. You are doing enough.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
More than enough. Yeah.
You're right. I think you're doing that, but you don't even realize
Right.
it. Yeah. So, and delegate is what probably the biggest word I could say about anything right here is you have to learn to delegate, and then to the right people, certain things, or just try it, and you'll know if it's going to work or not.
Right.
So, yeah. Good.
Love it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So one last question before we wrap up our episode. What's the one thing that you want every woman tuning in to your episode to do after or to think of afterwards?
You mean after they've completed
Yeah, like
their
they're
career?
no, like if someone's tuning in right now,
Oh.
what would you want them to do or think going forward?
To live with.
To leave, yeah,
Yeah.
like your parting wisdom.
Well, I just would say follow your heart, follow, and have faith in yourself too. I think that's really important. Just you don't have to doubt yourself all the time. Just take those step forwards and not step back. Just go forward. And then if you have to stop and take a breath, and think about it or make a different decision, is fine. But you just have to keep moving forward, and eventually you'll find your direction. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
That's so fitting because you're
Yeah. That's so sweet.
your answer in the book too for she does was she does keep going.
Oh,
That stood out to me.
wow. How,
So yeah,
yeah, but
love that.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing in my life. It's I never really had time to not keep going. You just kind of keep moving, keep doing
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, and maybe you have to shuffle around a little bit here and there, but yeah, and you just move so you don't fall backwards. You just keep moving. Yeah,
That's
I don't
wonderful.
know. Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
thank
thank you
you.
so much for joining us
Yeah.
today and being part of the book and the podcast. We always have something to learn from you,
Oh well, thank you.
and it's so fun to
Yeah.
chat.
We were very happy to have you as part of the book. I think there were a couple of women who were business owners at one point or are still business owners, but their kids are like your
Are grown.
daughter's age. They have moved out of the area and they didn't feel like they would qualify for being in the book. And we were like, no. You are actually the ones that we
Yeah,
need.
you have so much wisdom.
Exactly. We have so
Oh,
much
yeah.
stuff to learn from you.
Yeah.
So it meant
Yeah.
a lot that you were on board, that you were like on time, you were like reading your questions. She's got her paper right here. She has her answers prepared. So,
So
that,
ready.
Yeah.
you know, the commitment
Right.
that you had with all of this, it really means a lot to us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being part
Thank
of
you.
this.
Thank you very much. It's been fun, interesting. I can't wait for your opening.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I've got it on my calendar.
Yay!
I'm going to try to talk the girls into coming up. We'll have to see what their schedules
Oh,
are.
I hope they can.
but yeah.
I hope they can.
Yeah.
By the time this airs, it will have happened. So I'm going to manifest that they're able to come.
All right.
Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of She Does the Podcast. I'm Gina Joyce.
And Laura Moose.
And thank you,
Shele
Shele Toftey.
All right.
Till next time, take care.